Welcome back guys, second part of the rear subframe strip down. I've left it a few days like I said in the last video, come back and we'll see how the bolts are getting us today. We've still got freezing weather here, so it's hard getting motivated, but I have to say making videos for you guys does get me motivated, you know, it makes me want to say, oh I've not done that or this, so I'll get out and do it, so thanks for motivating me. This video, hopefully, we're going to get these flexi hose bolts off to get them freed from the subframe. We're going to hopefully get the radius arms off, and then we'll look at cones and trumpets. Who knows what's going to happen, we'll find out together. So, yep, let's get going. So as you can see, I've got the nut off here, and I'm currently working on this side. This side was a bit more rusted in here. The other side I got away with a 14mm, but I've had to use a 15mm just to get it round, just to get enough grip on it. And it's just a case of loosening this bit by bit. Unfortunately I don't have any Imperial ratchet spanners, but they would have been a godsend, I have to say. But it's things like this, one nut, you think, add a bit of rust and a 2-minute job turns into a 15-minute job. So only thing I can do is keep going. Could have got an angle grinder in and cut here, but you know it's quite tight in here anyway, and as it says in the first video, I want to do it as if someone was doing it on the car, and you don't want to be mucking about with angle grinders down here. So yeah, I'll get this off camera and I'll come back to you. So both out, these can just be pulled through or pushed through, and the same on the other side. So the radius arm, while I was cleaning this and looking at this, I actually found a sticker. So unfortunately I can't see a date on it, but I don't even know if that company exists anymore. I'll need to do a bit of digging on it. But as you can see, just by moving it about, the rust that's coming out yet isn't a good sign. But I'm still going to bash on regardless. Right, I've repositioned the subframe hopefully a bit better way. To get the radius arm off, which is what I'm going to attempt next, there's a few bolts. There's this bracket here, and as you can see I've cleaned this up. So there's 2 bolts here, there's 2 bolts on the underside, which I'll show you when I've moved it around. You've got a bolt on the inside, which is this one here, and then where the grease nipple is here. I'm going to attempt these ones first and we'll see how we get on, but I believe they've got a reputation for shearing off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tighten them slightly to break free the rust, and then I'm going to try undoing them that way. So I'll stick it on the time lapse. You don't need to see me do that at normal speed because I would bore you to death. And fingers crossed we don't get any sheared bolts, but we'll see.
Maybe I didn't treat you quite as good as I should. Maybe I didn't love you quite as often as I could. Little things I should have said and done, I never took the time. You are always on my mind. You are always on my mind. Maybe I didn't hold you.
Right, so who guessed 3 out of 4 bolts were going to snap? I'm just glad that one made it. If the subframe is salvageable, which I'm having major doubts, then it just means it'll need to be drilled out and tapped later on, if we come to that. So the other 2 bolts on each side that hold the bracket for the radius arm in, as you can see I've turned the subframe over now, And there you go, there's the bolts there. One here and one here. Again, both 1/2 inch. Let's see how many of them we can get out without snapping or shearing. What's your counts this time, folks? I'll go for, I'm feeling optimistic, I'm going to go for 2 out and 2 sheared. So this side came off with no problems at all. This being the near side. This side, what a pain in the arse. Got the inside one out, well it's sheared off so it's out but it's not out. This one's rounded and it's a lot closer to the radius arm here than it is on the other side. And it's just turning. I can't get the bit over it, so I'm going to put some WD-40 on, leave that to soak for a wee while, and I'm going to focus on getting this side off purely by undoing the 2 bolts at the end as I showed you before, the one in there and the one with the grease nipple here. This is probably going to need a few taps on the bracket to get it off once this is loose, I'd imagine, but yeah, let's find out. So this is pretty rotten here. What I should have done, but I've realised too late, is I should have loosened this off first, because what I found is when I tried turning this, it just lifted the whole bracket up. So the whole bracket and this is going to come off in one, and I think this would have been easier to get off from the bracket while it was attached to here rather than on the bench, but that's how we learn. So I'm going to leave that on just now because it's staying there for the time being, and I'm going to get to the inside one in here, and hopefully once this comes off, the radius arm on this side at least will just lift away. Right, all the bolts needed, that's attaching it, hopefully, so this, in theory, fingers crossed, should lift out. It's not the lightest of things, I have to say. The trumpets want to come with it. We'll deal with that later. There we go. And oh shocker, there's no brake shoes or brake springs or pretty much anything in there. So I'll put that there. Put that there. And would you believe it? So obviously the WD-40's done its work overnight, and then with that being free, it's just given it that extra bit to come out. So we'll have a look at the rubber core on this side in a wee while, but let's have a wee look. Again, once everything's off, we'll get a proper look and we'll see exactly how much we can save and if it's going to the great graveyard in the sky. But that's one side off. I'm not going to film the other side because you've seen this side coming off and you've seen the problems it's caused and you've seen the way I've done things. Bearing in mind this is my first time ever taking it off. Again, with everything else it's just trial and error, but as I said before, if you want this to come off easier, undo this first before you undo these brackets. It just makes things a little bit easier, but that's how you learn to do these things, by trying it or by watching me make a mess of it, either way. So fast forward about half an hour and they're off, but at what cost? Well, this one here, I did manage to get the bolt out. So what I said earlier, wasn't far away. 3 out of 4 came off intact with just the one snap in here. I couldn't get into this bolt to get a decent grip on it, so what I ended up, or what I decided to do, was to sacrifice this bracket. So I cut the bracket, which meant that I didn't have to cut into the actual arm, and I didn't have to cut into the subframe. That seemed like the best sacrifice, considering I've got another bracket. If I wanted to, I could always weld it back together, but nah, they're past at the brackets anyway. So that's that off. When I tried to take the trumpet off on this side, the cone decided to come with it. So you can see it's just the surface there that's been jammed on, rusted on, and yeah, I'm sure we'll get that off when it's had some time to soak. But main thing is it's off here. So the only thing left on this side that I've been trying to take off is the cone, and I'm going to just try and shock that loose with some hammer and pry bar now it's had a chance to soak. And what I'm going to do is get this mess cleaned up, because look at the rust, terrible. And some of these parts are going to find their new home. Yep, the bin. So I'm going to get this tidied up, try and get that knocked off, and then we'll come back and see what we've got. Right, so what I've done with this, just been round the metal bit here and just heated it up. Not very much, but heated it up, and by doing that you can see it's loosened it off slightly. It's just a case of breaking this sealant here. There you go, you can see how bad this side is. That's terrible, really terrible. We'll get a better look at the subframe once we get cleaned up and get up on the bench, then we'll know where we stand. But don't give up. It's taken quite a bit, that. But I mean, if you look at here, it's not actually that old looking, it's just been sat. So, I mean, I found that quite awkward, especially the sheared off bolts, but try to do this on the car, nightmare. Which is why these things are so expensive, because they're up quick. So I had a bit of a clean up. There's still a few things that are going to go in the bin here. The drums are gone, the cones are gone. I'll keep a hold of the trumpets, and I'll keep a hold of the radius arms, see if they're able to be refurbed. And obviously I'll start to take these two bits and clean them up and things. So yeah, and we'll get this subframe up on the bench. So to help me with the rest of the rear subframe, I've just built this little homemade bench. It's just a workbench that's basically attached to a pallet and then to some chipboard on top. The normal bench would have struggled to fit it on just with having the back bit on it there. So this way it can hang over the side, plus when I'm finished it all folds away and hangs on the wall, so it's ideal for what I need it. It'll come in handy, and it was nice and cheap. When I replaced the heel boards ages ago, I sanded this and gave it a quick coat of primer. So you know, it is quite good here, it's just what it's going to be like inside. So while I've got it up here, it just means I can get the final fixings off. I can look at the mounting points basically for the heel board, mounting points for the floor, the boot floor, and the exhaust points, and then that'll be it, completely clear, and we can then look at what we're going to do, or what I'm going to do. So to get these off, I'm going to do first, you've got a pretty rotten nut in there that attaches to this out here. Right, so I've had a look with a couple of sockets, and this is a metric 16mm. It was quite tight to start with, but it's coming. Finally, it's off. So this should just knock through. It's quite solid inside, so if I can get this to turn, then I can maybe knock it out. Right, the rear exhaust hanger, just one single bolt to come off, and then that lifts away. So 13mm bolt, turned it once, and sheared. Add that to the list of sheared bolts. This is pretty solid as well. I'll just get a wee pry bar in and pull this off. It might come actually with my fingers. Nah. So there you go, it's off. Had to cut the bolt. Sheared off. This stuck here and spun. This was stuck on, so yep, quick cut. And I mean, all this is just hangs over, and it's a hanger for the exhaust, but again, it's really rotten back here, so the easiest of job turns into long and drawn out. You could probably reuse the bracket, but for the cost of them, to be honest, you may as well get a new one. So yep, that's fairly straightforward. If it comes off, it unbolts. If it doesn't, cut. If you're installing a new one, the way that it's set up is you've basically got washer each side against the subframe, then this sits here, then you've got a spring washer and a nut on either side, and it just gets tightened at that. Right, these were really tight, but came off. So the way this goes on, bolt, washer, your trunnion with your bush there. To be honest, the bush looks really new. And then obviously the bush on the other side, which is well and truly stuck on there, so that'll be fine. That'll do on there just now. Going to do the same on the other side, get that removed. Right, the inner bush is a wee bit tight, so just pair of more grips will help. Like I say, these bushes do seem fairly new. There we go. There you go, fully off. And other side fully off. And this is the order they go in. Bush either side, washer, nut. Sorted. Right, so last piece is what's left of the exhaust mount. 2 bolts, there, 1/2mm socket. Here we go. So there we go. They came off fairly straightforward. But the only things that came off fairly straightforward on this subframe. So that's it, pretty much stripped, except for the rear trunnions that go onto the heel board. These are giving me quite a bit of bother. I haven't got a tool that'll fit into here to get some leverage on it, and I've tried knocking it, but it's fairly solid in here. So as I've done before, I'm going to leave it to soak in some penetrating fluid and I'll be back. Right, my first attempt. I've screwed just normal screws in. All they're basically screwed into behind here is the rubber bush, and I'm going to try getting a pry bar in here and try twisting it. We'll see how that works, because it should be deep enough, but I don't know if it'll be strong enough. So yeah, let's have a go at that. Yeah, it's just bending back in the rubber, unfortunately. Cheap screws. First plan we'll put as a fail. Plan 2. There you go, by moving, by heating it slightly, melting a bit of the rubber and heating it in here. It was really tough to turn, but I managed to get it moving slightly, and then with the vice grips here, just move it back and forward, and you can see it's turning fairly easy now. Let's see you fight this. Yes. Bearing in mind it's still hot with the heat, so. What a pain in the ass for a bolt. You can see it's just been rusted on here, and it just took a wee bit of heat, a wee bit of persuasion, and a lot of patience. Right, so I thought I would try the other side without any heat, anything, just to see how it's getting on, because this side has been kinder to me. And yep, I got a good grip, and I just started turning straight away, it freed itself off. So the penetrating fluid on this side has been enough, and by freeing it off, it's just come. You know, what a difference to the other side. So there we go. Trunnion bolts and trunnions off. That was a fun job. So these were by far the worst part of the subframe to come off. This wasn't too bad. If the try basically first with vice grips. If you can get the vice grips on here, that's fine. And if the bolt on the inside comes off, just try and turn it. If it's not turning, try some heat, get some heat into it, and then turning it, because as soon as it turns, it will come out. It's just getting that to turn basically. If that's not working, you could always try and either grind down this edge and this edge, or file it to make it flat so that you can get a better grip on. It's easier gripping flat things than it is with a round circumference, so try that. But it worked for me. This might not work for some, and I would imagine some other people's will just come off straight away. All down to rust. But I'm pleased I stuck with it, and I'm pleased it came off. So there we go, it's stripped, and it was a nightmare. Rust, 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 and it even fought me. Can you see the mark there? Yep, it didn't like me at all. But it's done. It's completely stripped, and one of the main reasons I wanted to do it was to show some of you guys out there how it all goes together, and to see everything. I've got the new subframe set up there, so I can go into that. I am going to go over the new subframe because I need to change a few bits and pieces on it, plus I want to check a few bits and pieces on it. So, but that's it in terms of this stripped. Am I going to use this subframe? No. It's solid on the outside, but the problem is in here. You can see in there it's rusted inside. So it doesn't matter how much you wire brush, bead sandblast that, it's never going to be fine, and it's going to rot out no matter what you do. And I love my cars, I'm not going to put something like this back on it, so it's a shame really, because I think it's been fitted and it's just sat. It's never actually been on a running vehicle, is my estimate, judging by some of the bushes and the stuff that weren't exposed to the rust. So yeah. Anyway, I hope someone gets something from it. I did enjoy doing it. It's quite tiring work, fighting rust all the time, and as you can see, I'm a mess. But hopefully enjoyed it. We'll move on to something different next time. We'll look at the built up subframe, and at some point I may even look at refurbing the radius arms. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hit like if you liked, hit subscribe if you've not already subscribed, and if you've got comments or tips for me or for anyone else, let me know in the comments. So as always, thanks for watching guys and girls, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers!